Hello and welcome to the Daily Forex Report for June 3rd. We are looking at the U.S.-Japanese yen pair. You can see some of our longer term trades have paid off. You can see that it broke to the downside, broke through both of our areas of support there and has continued to close lower. So definitely worth noting and keeping an eye on when you have a long-term setup, just to stick with it and wait for it to happen. Now let me get all that off the chart. Okay, now as far as the U.S.-Japanese yen pair, gap down just a hair, a couple of pips, nothing to really get excited about. We are looking for this pair to potentially go as high up to 79.03, possibly down to 77.32. Look for some resistance around 78.69, and look for some support around 77.50. Now the Euro-USD pair, this pair closed higher on Friday after moving much lower. We are looking for it to potentially go as high as 125.53, possibly as low as 122.24. Look for some resistance around 124.55, and look for some support around 122.75. Now the pound-US dollar pair, this pair closed lower, surged definitely to the downside, but pulled back a little bit prior to the close. Look for it to potentially go as high on reversal up to 154.86, possibly as low as 152.12. Look for some resistance around 154.39, and look for some support around 152.55. Now the US Swiss, this pair surged higher on Friday, pulled back, closed lower overall. Look for it to potentially go as high as 0.9814, possibly as low as 0.9569. Look for some resistance at 0.9769, and look for some support around 0.6934. Now, as far as news announcements go, we do have one significant news announcement for tomorrow. It's the Eurozone Producers Price Index for April being released at 5 a.m. Eastern. Consensus on that is that it has dropped a little bit from 3.3% down to 2.7%. Now, as far as what I'm looking at during this next session, well, if we have, I do anticipate these pairs to continue in the direction they're going. As far as the Euro USD continuing to the downside, same thing with the Swiss. You can see here we have not broken long-term trend lines. If I backed out even further, you would see that it has not broken any of those as of yet. Still looking for it to head lower. Pound US dollar pair continues to move to the downside. Definitely look for that to move lower as well. Let's go ahead and drop down to the 15-minute time frame just to take a look. You can see here that we have a long-term trend line that has been developing over the past several sessions. You can see that it has tagged several of the highs. If we get a reversal, it'd probably be a short-term reversal, but if we got one, we could potentially see it move higher, at least for a session or two, come through here and break out to the upside. It is possible to the downside. We do have this low and this low that are starting to move higher, form an upward trend line. I like to see at least two time periods rather. This would be one, this would be two, where we have price gets hit, makes a low here and then bounces back up. And so we'd have 1, 2, 3 across at least two time periods, then a reversal to the downside. That's one way to ensure that you're going to get a good trade out of it. Here's one in the Euro USD, kind of a similar deal. It has moved higher. So continue just to look for your long-term trend reversals, even on the shorter time frames. It's a way to catch some strong moves. For instance, the U.S. Canadian dollar has been forming a trend line. Here's one, and here's another. and we should, if we get a breakdown over this next session to the downside and it breaks this first one, I would almost bet that it would come on down about 75 pips and hit the lower one over the price action. Well, I hope that helps. Using long-term trend lines on the shorter time frames, very effective tool. And until next time, this is Jason Fielder. Good trading.